going forward with a new agent and golden dresses and all that, and she won't join. Annoying and hypocritical for a change is the fact that they said they're not going to talk about the royal. And Meghan thought it was hilarious and she began laughing, and then Melissa started laughing. Nothing wrong with.
What if I told you that everything you've ever heard about Meghan Markle's fairy tale journey to royalty might be missing an entire secret chapter? We've all heard the polished story, haven't we? The small-town actress meets her prince, the glamorous wedding, the happily ever after fantasy. But here's the jaw-dropper. What if there's a whole hidden timeline involving Las Vegas wedding chapels, mysterious missing years, and family ties that were deliberately scrubbed out of public records? People close to her past insist there's way more to Meghan's story than the world has ever been allowed to see. And honestly, if even a fraction of it is true, it flips her image upside down.
Still, Levin got called out for her hate towards Meghan.
You've just used the phrase, she is not fit.
And let's be clear, if these shocking claims hold any weight, they don't just tweak her reputation, they completely transform it. Meghan's entire public identity could unravel, and the person we think we know might not be the whole truth at all.
What has been going on? So start me at the beginning. Where should we go to first? Who should we start?
Well, we can talk about the.
And no, this isn't happening on some Hollywood red carpet or at a glamorous royal gala. Oh no, this story allegedly begins in none other than Las Vegas. Picture it, Meghan, just 18 years old, long before the world had ever heard her name. There she is, standing in one of those famous Vegas wedding chapels. You know the ones, drenched in neon lights with Elvis impersonators ready to officiate 24/7. No media frenzy, no royal photographers, no designer dress. Just Meghan, a man named Joe Giuliano, and a quiet little ceremony. Now, according to sources connected to both families, this wasn't just some wild Vegas adventure after a few too many cocktails. Nope, this was the real deal. A genuine wedding. A marriage that allegedly had family witnesses who even flew to Nevada just to be there.
I'm trying to keep this video under 5 minutes, but it's impossible, so there will be 2 parts.
If these accounts are true, there was even an official marriage certificate signed by Meghan Markle herself, which means that, legally speaking, before Meghan was the Duchess of Sussex, she was already someone's wife, while most of her peers were busy filling out college applications. And it gets even juicier. This marriage supposedly didn't end in a typical divorce. Oh no.
Oh my goodness, royal watchers. Your friendly neighborhood royal commentator is back with some absolutely
It allegedly ended with an annulment. And here's the kicker. Divorces acknowledge the marriage existed and then ended. But an annulment? That wipes the slate clean, like it never legally happened. It's as if the entire union was erased from history. Nevada makes annulments surprisingly easy if you know what paperwork to file. And once done, those records are tucked away in dusty archives, far from prying eyes.
I want to talk to you about the last week or the last 10 days.
For someone desperate to keep parts of their past hidden, it's the perfect solution. But wait, why go through the hassle of an annulment instead of just divorcing? That's the question that has so many people buzzing. Sure, there are legitimate reasons for annulments, but it requires extra effort, and according to people familiar with the Giuliano family, it was all part of a larger pattern of, let's just call it strategic record keeping.
She is Pat Tillman's mother. I'm going to respect her. He did not do that. Instead,
and apparently, that wasn't the only chapter of Meghan's life to quietly vanish into the shadows. So, what came next? Oh, you're not ready for this. Her official biography says she took a gap year before college. Sounds harmless, right? Plenty of young people take a year off to travel, volunteer, or explore before diving into university life. On paper, it looks like Meghan was just another privileged student broadening her horizons. But here's the bizarre part. There's almost no evidence of this supposed gap year. Of course, it was the mid-90s.
A new picture has emerged of the children. Is this just a way to...
Nobody expected Instagram stories or TikTok travel vlogs. But even back then, gap years usually left behind something. Program records, letters from host families, or even friends sharing stories later on. Yet, when people tried piecing together Meghan's year off, they found almost nothing. No trail, no details, no stories. Sources whisper that Meghan's gap year was far less about backpacking through Europe and far more about laying low. Instead of Amsterdam hostels or Italian language schools, these insiders claim Meghan spent a suspiciously long time in Chicago. And this wasn't the flashy public Meghan we've all come to know. This was Meghan living quietly, away from her California life.
It's just a choice, right? I think that very early on when we realized we were going to commit.
Like she needed to step out of the spotlight completely. And when she finally reappeared, enrolling at Northwestern University, it felt like a total reset. New city, new academic path, new friends, almost as if the Chicago chapter had served a very specific, very private purpose. But what was that purpose? Oh, buckle up. because this is where whispers turn into bombshells. According to people close to the Giuliano family back then, Meghan's long Chicago stay wasn't just about catching her breath.
At her mother, and her mother has looked after her children enormously for a very long time, so she...
Number. These sources claim she had something monumental to hide. They allege that Meghan actually had a baby during this period. Yes, you heard that right, a baby. And this wasn't done in any hospital that would generate headlines or records. This was reportedly handled completely in private.
Onto your seats because Prince Harry is about to take you on a wild ride. Forget royal duties, global diplomacy, or
no birth announcements, no public documents, nothing that could ever tie back to Meghan. According to those sources, the baby girl was named Noel, and from the very beginning, she was folded into the Giuliano family. One comment allegedly made by someone close to them still lingers. She was Meghan's before she was ours. That one sentence says everything, doesn't it? Everyone involved seemed to know the truth, even if they never dared write it down. And here's the kicker. People who watched Noel grow up say the resemblance was impossible to ignore. Not just vague similarities, specific facial features, expressions, mannerisms that screamed Markle. And as Noel got older, the resemblance only became stronger, making whispers about her true parentage impossible to dismiss. What's even more fascinating is how seamlessly Noel fit into the Giuliano family.
Prince Harry, once the cheeky royal with a grin that charmed the world, is now pacing the halls of Montecito like a man.
Neighbors and family friends remember her as just another kid running around during barbecues and holiday gatherings. No dramatic backstory, no endless questions. She was simply Noel Giuliano. She laughed with the other kids, joined in family traditions, and became a completely normal presence. But here's the catch. If Noel really was born around 1995, that means she's nearly 30 today. Let that sink in. 30. And whispers from people still connected to that Chicago circle claim Noel herself has recently become a mother. Imagine that. If true, Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, isn't just mom to Archie and Lilibet. She could quietly be a grandmother while still publicly presenting herself as a first-time parent of 2 young royals. And this is where things take an even stranger turn. Researchers digging through Meghan's past have stumbled upon inconsistencies in her official records. Everywhere you look today, Meghan's birth year is listed as 1981. Official bios, news sites, Wikipedia, they all repeat it. But when people started combing through archives, alumni records, and early industry databases, other years popped up. 1977, even 1975 in some cases. Hollywood is notorious for shaving a few years off actors' ages, but here the implications are massive. Think about it. If Meghan was actually born in the mid-70s, then the timeline suddenly makes sense. That Vegas wedding? She wouldn't have been a naive 18-year-old impulsively tying the knot. She would have been a woman in her 20s making calculated choices. That alleged Chicago baby? Not a terrified teenager, but a young adult taking a deliberate private path. And it doesn't end there. Remember Archie's birth certificate? It first listed Meghan's full legal name, Rachel Meghan Markle. Totally normal. But weeks later, it was suddenly altered. Not a correction of a typo, but a complete revision. Now it simply said, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. No name, nothing personal, just a title. Royal correspondents were baffled. They'd never seen anything like it. Every other royal baby's certificate stayed untouched. So why Meghan's? Here's the thought that chills people. If the palace could adjust records in 2019 under the full glare of global attention, imagine how easy it would have been to adjust things in the 1990s when everything was paper, tucked away in cabinets out of the public eye. And that's the pattern. Every inconsistency in Meghan's story somehow ends up smoothing into the version that supports her current narrative. Convenient, isn't it? Now, let's talk about the people who were actually there. Because you can change documents, but you can't erase what neighbors saw. Those who live near the Giuliano family in Chicago recall a young girl suddenly appearing at family events in the mid-90s. A sweet little girl named Noel. She wasn't part of the family before, but suddenly she was everywhere. Helping with holiday prep, playing with cousins, smiling at barbecues. No one made a fuss, no one explained. She was just there. Neighbors noticed she bore family features. When asked, the Giulianos would change the subject smoothly, without drama. It wasn't denial, it was protection. Then comes Trevor Engelson, Meghan's first husband. He started dating Meghan right after her Chicago reset. If anyone outside the Giuliano circle knows the truth, it's Trevor. Yet, even after their messy split, even after Meghan became one of the most famous women in the world, Trevor has remained silent. No memoir, no tell-all interview, just one haunting comment to friends. Meghan's story is way more complex than people realize. That one line says everything. And let's be real, Meghan has spent the last decade building a brand around her life story. The Hollywood actress turned Duchess, the modern royal breaking barriers, the relatable mother opening up about struggles and joys. Every Netflix project, every podcast, every public speech, it all leans on the authenticity of Meghan's narrative. But here's the ticking time bomb. What if Noel Giuliano, now a grown woman, maybe even a mother herself, decides to break her silence? What if Trevor Engelson finally reveals what he knows about those missing years? The fallout would be catastrophic. This wouldn't be another shallow celebrity scandal. This would be a full-blown rewriting of Meghan Markle's identity. Imagine the headlines. The Duchess was a grandmother all along. How do you sell motherhood as your first-time journey when you've possibly had an entire family branch hidden in plain sight? And let's not forget, the palace PR machine, as seasoned as it is, has no playbook for this. Affairs, money scandals, political spats, they can handle all that. But a duchess who might secretly be a grandmother, that's uncharted territory. Here's the brutal reality. Every day Meghan stays silent, the rumors grow louder. Every interview about discovering motherhood sounds more complicated. Every Instagram-style story about parenting feels heavier with suspicion. Silence is no longer protecting her. It's fueling the fire. Because if there's even a grain of truth in these whispers, Meghan risks losing control of the narrative she's spent years curating. And in today's social media-driven world, once a story like this explodes, no amount of lawyers or crisis managers can contain it. It spreads like wildfire. So here's the million-dollar question. If Noel was born in 1995, she's nearly 30 today. If she has indeed started her own family, that makes Meghan a grandmother, while still presenting herself as a millennial mom of two. If these pieces fit together, Meghan Markle's story isn't just about reinvention. It could be the most dramatic hidden chapter in royal history. And that leaves us wondering, are we looking at the most brilliantly orchestrated reinvention of all time, or the ticking time bomb of a secret that could shake the monarchy's image forever? Because if the truth ever comes out, the Meghan Markle we thought we knew might not exist at all.